사는 세상 안과 밖에서는 어떤 일들이 일어나고 있는지 여러분 아시나요? 여러분 위험해요. That's why we have our lawyers here in the studio. 함께 알아볼 시간이 사건File. 오늘도 백규하 변호사님과 함께합니다. 안녕하세요.
Hello, 안녕하세요.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
벌써 또 3주가 지났네요.
3 weeks.
Time goes by super fast.
So fast.
Do you enjoy the summer weather?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Ah.
But usually I just stay in my office working, but
That's
I enjoy
true.
the sunshine through the
That's
window.
true. 그러니까요. 이렇게 I mean, you work long hours, and so I don't even feel like you might feel the seasons change or anything like that.
Well, usually when I go to work,
Okay.
I walk on the street. So
그쵸.
that's the time when I
That's
feel
about
the
it.
weather. Yep.
That short amount of time, but hopefully you guys are enjoying. I think it's an amazing spring season. I still think it's spring.
It feels
여름은
like
아닌 것 같아요.
It's not that hot.
Yeah, it's definitely not as hot as it was in previous years. So I'm loving the chilly nights for me, but I don't know about you guys. But in any case, let's take a look. It seems like some people may not be enjoying life so much. We have a particular clip here ready for us. 오늘은 또 어떤 이야기일까요?
오늘 주제는 주거 침입입니다.
Oh, okay. 주거 침입, is that trespassing?
Yeah, trespassing in English. In Korean law, it says intrusion to habitation. So it's like habitation is for the 주거,
Right.
where you live or where you stay, and then intruding to it is 주거 침입. So it's
Alright.
trespassing in English.
Well, let's take a look. 집과 관련된 주거 침입 사례를 가지고 와 봤다고 하는데요. 먼저 사건의 내용부터 들어보시죠.
전 여자친구가 다른 남성과 숙박시설에 들어가는 모습을 본 20대 남성이 해당 건물 외벽을 타고 객실로 침입했다가 징역형의 집행유예를 선고받았다. 인천지법은 건조물 침입 등의 혐의로 기소된 A씨에 대해 징역 10개월에 집행유예 2년을 선고했다고 3일 밝혔다. A씨는 지난해 7월 23일 인천 부평구에 있는 한 모텔 건물 옥상에서 외벽을 타고 내려가 전 여자친구와 다른 남성이 투숙한 객실 화장실 창문을 통해 내부로 침입한 혐의를 받는다. 당시 A씨는 전 여자친구가 있는 객실의 내부 소리를 엿듣고 녹음할 목적으로 건물에 침입한 것으로 조사됐다. 그는 계단으로 건물을 오가며 각 객실 방문에 귀를 대고 엿듣다가 주인에게 쫓겨나자 이런 범행을 저질렀다. 이 밖에도 A씨는 지난해 6월 28일부터 7월 19일까지 6회에 걸쳐 다른 건조물에 침입하고 시가 총 120여만 원 상당의 재물을 절취한 혐의도 받는다.
All right, that's an interesting story. Let's break it down in English. So, a man in his 20s was sentenced to a suspended prison term after breaking into a lodging facility by climbing the building and entering through the guest room. So according to Incheon District Court, this guy by the name of A, we'll call him A, who's 29 years old, was charged with trespassing and other related offenses. He was sentenced to 10 months in prison with a 2-year suspension. Now, why this happened? Well, it's probably because he wanted to know what his ex-girlfriend was doing. So this is where his ex-girlfriend and another man were staying, and it was revealed during the investigation that he had broken into the building with the intention of eavesdropping and recording the sounds inside his ex-girlfriend's room. It's a bit creepy, but you may ask, how did he know the room number? Well, he didn't. He was listening at the doors of various rooms while going up and down of the stairs in the building. So he was actually also additionally charged with breaking into another building 6 times between June 28th and July 19th last year, stealing property worth of a total of around 1.2 million won. Oh, wow. My goodness. All right. Well, it seems like he had some broken heart intention, but then again, he also stole stuff and was doing it quite a few times. So I'm not sure if I can have any empathy for him. No. But in any case, let's take a look at the key word that we're taking a look at today. 이제 trespass이죠. So this is 주거 침입, as you said. So how can we describe this or break it down?
So it's called intrusion upon habitation in Korean criminal law. And then in U.S. law, it says criminal trespass.
Okay.
It means a person who intrudes upon someone's residence, guarded building, structure, or ship, or any occupied room shall be punished by imprisonment with labor for up to 3 years or by a fine up to 5 million won. It intends to protect tranquility, so 평온, of those who are residing. And it's important that it protects not just the owner of the property, but all of those who are residing in the place.
Right.
So it was funny that before 2021, the Supreme Court of Korea had decided that if a man who was having an affair with a married woman enters the house of the woman by the invitation of the woman without the consent of the husband, it was considered a criminal trespass because it was obviously against the will of the husband,
그렇죠.
even though that he's not there.
Yeah. We talked about, was it last week or a couple weeks ago, we talked about how up till, was it 2021, up till recently, wasn't having an affair. It was 불법, it was illegal.
Yeah, it was illegal.
And now it becomes 합법, which is so weird to say.
Well, it's not
illegal.
Not illegal, so it's 합법. But it's not illegal under the criminal law. But it could still be, you can be charged with 불법행위 by the civil law.
Oh, okay.
So because you are like if you are having an affair with a married woman, then you will be infringing with their marital relationship.
I see.
So that is 불법행위. So you can sue them and file a lawsuit against them for some amount of money. But it's different from criminal
Sure.
law. So.
Well, I mean, 이때까지 2011년 때까지는 I guess the law kind of protected the people in the house, right? So 집에 있는 사람을 약간 배려하는 느낌이라고 해야 되나요?
Well, it means that it protected someone who's not in the house yet.
Okay.
But because they're
They're still residents.
Assumed will is that they won't allow those people inside because obviously if you're having an affair with someone else, then you're not going to be allowed in.
Right.
But in 2021, the Supreme Court changed the case law and then decided that it is not a criminal trespass because the man entered with the consent of the woman who is one of the residents and he did it in a normal way. He didn't breaking in.
Sure.
So even if the woman is not the owner of the property, it is not against the law if she accepted the man's entrance, even if it will certainly be against the will of the husband.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was a question that I was going to ask, because the name could be under the husband's name, and if the wife is having an affair, brings him in, well, it's not really her house, and so...
Yeah.
I don't know. It could probably be messy. Better not to do it in anybody's houses.
Yeah.
But in any case, I mean, you mentioned 주거. Does it have to be a house that you live in? 집을 말하는 건가요?
Well, it means any kind of place used for habitation, and then by habitation you mean not just living. It also means staying in the place.
Oh, okay.
So and then the form of the habitation could be any structure that you can live in or stay in. So it could be a tent.
Oh,
and
okay.
Also, the habitation includes any necessary place attached to it, such as a garden or a parking lot.
Right.
And then if you use a camping car as your habitation, it could also be protected as a habitation under the criminal law.
Right. I mean, this is also in the States, this is you'll see signs everywhere. It says, do
no
not trespass.
Yeah.
That's or beware of dog,
Right.
But then I often think, is that even a legal place? You know what I mean? Are they even, if it's a camping car, are they even camped in a legal spot?
Oh, I don't know about the U.S. law, but that's what I was just going to say. It doesn't matter whether the place is legal or not. So,
in Korea?
Yeah, in Korea. Even if a house is illegally built, it is also protected by the law in terms of trespassing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the priority is the safety of the people inside rather than...
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess...
You have to at least respect that.
Sure. Right.
But then as far as I know, it's really important in the U.S. to put up the sign, the no trespassing, because when someone actually does the trespassing, you have the right to
Right.
like shoot someone or I don't know.
Yeah, in
Maybe
different
going to
states.
extreme, yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why. I mean, there was that whole McDonald's case as well because the lid didn't say that it was hot.
Yeah, it's a really popular case.
Right. And so this
Right.
woman who burned herself, it was quite a severe burn, but she ended up suing the fast food restaurant and
right.
winning.
Right,
Because
getting
it-
a lot of money.
A lot of money
out of it.
because it didn't say that it was hot.
Right.
And now all the lids say it's
So
hot. But
the sign is really important.
Sign-
You have to put up the sign.
yeah, there you go. But we can say, they stayed at a building as the 건조물. How can we say this is different from a house? 집과 다른 건가요? 건조물?
So 건조물 is it's really it's not a like common vocabulary in Korean either. It's 건조물 is like something some sort of like structure.
Okay.
So it means a building, but it means a structure that has like columns or walls
Right.
and roof. So as long as you have like columns and roof, it is considered as structure under this law. So 건조물 under this law. So if it is a structure where people can stay or enter into, then it's a 건조물. So it does not have to be a permanent structure. So any storage plant, public office such as like city hall, a church or a classroom, those could all be considered building or structure under the criminal law.
I mean, how do you like differentiate, between the two? I mean, you did give us like a brief description, but then, 사람마다 기준이 애매할 수도 있잖아요. So is there like a case that we can distinguish between the two?
So the habitation or building under the law includes any necessary place attached to it, such as stairs, corridors, or parking lots could all be considered habitation because it is attached to it and it is like it's necessary place. But it must be shown publicly that it is provided for the use of habitation so that no one can enter without consent. So there was a case where a man entered the land next to someone else's house. So the house is obviously habitation,
Right.
but the land did not have any walls or it was not restricted from entering or it didn't have signs or anything. So the court decided that it is not a criminal trespassing.
So it is important also to have fences
Oh
and
yeah,
things
yeah,
like
it's
that.
really important. You need to show that it's a guarded or
Right.
or you need to show that it's a private place.
Sure.
So
yeah.
it could be like any like unwanted intrusion if it's your land and like someone trespasses, but it does not belong to the definition of intrusion if you don't like control the place.
So
and
what
then show
happened?
it.
What happened to this guy? Did he just like walk through the area and somebody said, "Hey, get off my land! I'm going to sue you." So what? Like, can you accidentally trespass and like
Yeah.
just have like a few body parts in there and not really knowing?
A few body parts?
Like if it's not like
your
killed.
parts of your body.
Yeah. No, but like if your feet are there, but you're
Yeah,
like lying, how can we? And there's no like strict boundary or line that's drawn or a fence, or I don't know.
I mean, if it's not shown like publicly or the you don't have like signs on it, then just you're just fine. You're not be prohibited by the criminal law. But if you like get some kind of interest or you get some money out of it by using the space,
I see.
then the person can sue you for
Right.
some money for the
Sure.
civil lawsuit.
Yeah, like using an empty lot for
Right,
like
right.
a parking lot. Or, yeah, it's quite interesting. Well, we're talking about an interesting case about intrusion, trespassing, and even burglary by this guy wanting to eavesdrop about his ex-girlfriend and another man that she was dating. But in any case, there's still more to come regarding this. Let's take a quick song break. Or I guess we should just keep going. Let's take a look here. A lot to talk about and a lot of different cases, when we say, how can this be? So what if, like, you have a house and here we have, like, the P-bon, right? The passcode. But what if like your friends or your lovers or whoever, they come in without you knowing or whatever like that? Is that also considered trespassing?
Oh yeah. Even if you know the password or the P-bon, if you go into the place without the consent of the owner of someone who resides in the place, or if it is against the like assumed will of the person, then it could be called or it could be considered a trespass.
Right. I'm looking at a case here that you brought in where a man went to his ex-girlfriend's house
Oh, yeah.
to get his cat. 이게 굉장히 의외로
It could happen.
흔한
Yeah, it can
일이더라고요.
happen.
Yeah.
Because like if you have like especially if
shared
you're in a like
pet.
longer relationship, then you have maybe you'll leave like some belongings
Yeah.
at your girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
And after the relationship, you have to have some time to pick them up.
Sure.
And then I guess like if you like broke up with your girlfriend, then it could be some a little awkward to like see in person.
Yeah.
So-
Or what if she doesn't answer his calls?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or
So you might pick up some time where she's not there. You just wanna get your belongings without like facing her awkwardly.
Yeah.
But that is really dangerous according to this case.
I guess so. So what happened here?
So it's a case where a man went to his ex-girlfriend's house to get his cat. He sent a text message actually to his ex that he's going to get the cat, but he did not get her consent. So in the end, he was found guilty with 6 months of imprisonment. So you have to be really cautious
Yeah,
when
you
you break up
do.
with your ex-girlfriend.
What if you say what if you send a text message like, "Hey, I'm going to come over and pick up the dog."
Well, you didn't get the consent yet. So
Oh.
if she replied that you
Then
can
you
do
get the
that,
consent.
then you can do it.
But if like even if I let you know, but you still didn't reply,
right,
that's still
right,
considered.
right. There's no consent there.
Whoa. Yeah, I guess you really do
I
have
mean,
to be
this
careful.
happens. Like I looked it up, newspapers, and this happens quite often.
It does. Yeah, I've seen it in lots of different news stories around the world. So you never know how crazy your ex can be. Just
Oh,
can
right,
sue
right.
you and
Yeah.
send you to jail.
Yeah, I mean, like ex-girlfriend might find it really creepy.
Sure.
Like someone like getting in
Sure.
without consent. So
Yeah.
especially like the very fact that you guys broke up means that you're not in a really good relationship
That's
usually.
true.
So
Yeah, well, I guess we can say change your 비밀번호.
oh yeah, you have to do that too. It could be very dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, we see it in for a lot of girls who live alone
Yeah,
at home
especially
at
that.
night and things like that. You know, how can we be careful? There are quite a few cases of trespassing targeting women.
Right,
who live
especially at
alone.
night.
Right. So there's another case here. But this was back in 2019, right? So a man followed a woman he saw on the street until she arrived at home.
Right.
So he tried to hold the door when she closed the door, but then he failed. And after that, he stayed right outside the door. He didn't quit. 이게 바로 그 10번 찍어서 안 넘어가는 나무.
That's a very dangerous 속담 in these
It
days.
really
like it doesn't
is.
apply anymore.
Yeah, so this guy, I mean, was stalking this girl home, and she thankfully was able to close the door, but
Right,
he
right.
stayed outside, banging on the
Right.
door, asking her to open it because he dropped his belongings. I mean, it was all caught on the security camera.
Did you watch the TV?
I don't know if this is the particular one that I saw, but I mean, there are quite a few shows.
It's really shocking and really really creepy. So the guy follows the girl like right behind, and then I think she was a little drunk too. So
Oh,
she
no.
wasn't really cautious.
No,
She wasn't being cautious, and she was like closing the door, and then his hands like was like right at
Yes.
on the door.
Yes.
But then he failed grabbing the
yeah.
door. So it was really close, really close.
Oh my gosh. I mean, her life could have been changed
Right, right.
completely. I mean, it
Yeah.
still is. How traumatic is that to have somebody follow you home and try to get into your door as you were going in? So, what happened to this guy?
So this man was sentenced to 1 year of imprisonment. The prosecutor actually argued that he was actually trying to rape her.
For sure.
So it's a failure to rape, but it was not accepted by the court because it wasn't obviously shown in the CCTV that the man was trying to actually rape her. So it only showed that he tried to enter the apartment.
I mean, what was he going to do? Watch a movie?
Yeah, I mean,
Like cook for
yeah,
her?
Right.
I mean-
That's the argument from the victim. But then in the criminal law, you have to be really clear that you have to have a clear evidence that the guy was really trying to rape her. So it wasn't really shown in the in the video.
In the video, right. I mean, and that's all the proof that they have, and what are you going to do?
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
I mean, it's terribly sad that these things happen, but, apparently it's a worse crime to trespass at night as well. So it's different for the time of day. How does this work?
So if a person who steals another's property by trespassing upon residence at night, it shall be punished by imprisonment with labor for up to 10 years.
Whoa.
So it's very strong. But this means that you have to have a intent to steal something out of your house at night.
Okay, so was this guy, let's go back to the previous case, was this guy doing that at night, following her at night?
Well, it wasn't really shown that if he was going to steal something. So,
oh, even that as well. Okay, there's no intention. There's no proof of intention.
Right. But if it was shown in the intention, but this case, it was quite obvious that he had he wanted some kind of physical contact, or he wanted to approach her in person. So this was not considered like a larceny at night. But the case we're talking about right now, it's the criminal law article 330, and then it's about stealing something out of your house at night. So if it is clear that a person enters the house at night without consent to steal something, then this one applies, and it's up to 10 years of imprisonment. So it's really strong, but it is strong because it's really dangerous to steal something at night. So
yeah, I mean, just don't do it. But I feel like, nobody's, I mean, they're not normal people, these criminals.
No.
I still have a heart for them because they once were. And so they must have a story behind, what they do and why they do it. But one more question here. Regarding 부동산 for real estate agents, they go place to place and they have records and memories and of everyone's keys, 비밀번호, the passcodes, and all that kind of stuff. There must be cases where they visit, my house or other people's house when they're not there, and you got to be really careful with that too, because some people, they get really offended by that as well. And I guess in more serious cases, that could be considered trespassing.
So this case, in usual cases, those property realty agents are certified, so they work for their job, they work for their living. So this doesn't really happen that often.
Right.
But in this case, this agent guy, he was really crazy because if you get a consent, then it is not a criminal trespass.
Right.
But in this case, the realty agent got a consent, so he visited the house with a buyer, but potential buyer. And then they left, and then after that, he came back again, alone, and then the purpose of that was to masturbate in the house.
Oh my goodness!
With the girl's underwear.
Oh my gosh!
So he was his second visit with the password.
I mean, how was there footage? How did she know that he came to the second time?
In this case, I don't know what this guy was thinking, but it's a little dirty, but he left his
he left proof. Oh no.
He left the toilet papers
that
he used on the table.
Oh my god.
So it was pretty obvious.
So he, I guess, wanted to let her know what
I
he
don't
did.
know. I think it's almost like a illness or something, because
I definitely think so. I don't think this is a normal person who would do such a thing. Something a mentally unstable person would do.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely alarming. It's definitely it's hard to kind of, I don't know.
But this case is really hard to control or prevent in advance.
Right. What do you do?
This guy's like a realty agent.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these people who are professionals, and when they do something wrong or break the law or kind of use their profession and abuse it, that's when it's well, who do we trust? We can't trust anybody.
Right. I mean, it happened. It's the same for the lawyers too.
Right.
There are some cases where lawyers, we actually get to read a lot of secrets of our clients. So it gets really, really problematic if some lawyers reveal the secrets to others, or in some cases it was a really recent case where this lawyer represented a victim of 학폭.
Okay.
like the violence at school.
I see.
And then they were like suing the 가해자 for some money for the civil law. And then this lawyer or attorney wasn't present at the hearings. So, and it happened like twice or three times. So the court just denied the claims by the 학폭 피해자. So
really?
it was the lawsuit was ended there. So because he wasn't the I think it was she, but she wasn't present at the court for like 3 times.
Wow. Oh,
So it was
heartbreaking.
it's end of it. So you
can't redo the
no,
trial at all.
because you charge them for the at the court, and then you do not appear at the court. So it's like ended like that.
Oh my gosh. 그러면 또 변호사도 잘 만나야 되는 복이 있네요.
Yeah, sure. So they what they have to do is the victims have to sue the lawyer, the
okay.
attorney for another good.
How many more years? How much more money do you have to go
Right,
through?
right.
Well, in any case, I'm sorry if it was too alarming and disturbing, but what can we say? It is the truth, and it is the world that we live in. Stick around, much more is to come. Here's Monster X, 무단 침입. What is happening around the world, the disturbing things, but also the nice things. That's why we have our wonderful lawyers here in the studio. 오늘도 백규하 변호사님과 함께 하는데요. It's time for 사건File. 앞선 시간에는 주거 침입, trespassing, intrusion에 대해서 알아봤는데요. 자, 다음으로는 왠지 모르게 한국에서 많이 일어나는 그렇게 자랑스럽지는 않지만 약간 Korean culture이라고 봐야 되나요? It's all about working hard, working late, unfair labor. 여러 가지가 있죠. Yeah. All right, well, let's take a look at our next clip. 오늘 또 어떤 내용일까요? 함께 들어보죠.
모 공기업 해외사무소 소장으로 근무한 A씨는 한국 직원 6명, 현지 직원 5명을 이끌었다. 그는 재판 결과 11가지 비위 행위가 확인됐다. 대표적인 게 현지 운전기사를 이름 대신 뚱땡이라고 부르는 행위였다. A씨는 다른 현지 직원들에게도 냄새가 난다, 안 씻는다, 스투피드하다, 레이지하다, 아프리카 너네는 다 똑같다라고 하는 등 폭언과 고성을 거의 매일 일삼았다. A씨는 한국 직원들에게도 부당한 업무를 지시했다. 평소 현지 직원들이 아랍어로 무슨 대화를 하는지 녹음하라고 지시했고 인턴에겐 본인 주거지의 방충망 설치 작업을 지켜보라고 했다. 또 인턴이 한국에서 백신을 맞겠다고 하자 쓸데없는 인턴 필요 없다며 허락하지 않았다. 이 밖에도 A씨는 현지 직원들만 커피 캡슐 및 간식을 이용하지 못하게 차별하고 매일 1시간씩 무급으로 추가 근무를 시켰으며 임신 중인 직원이 코로나19 감염을 우려해 자가격리를 요청하자 정당한 이유 없이 이를 막는 등 갑질 행위를 벌였다. A씨의 비위 행위에 대해 해당 공기업 조사위원회는 여러 차례 조사와 면담 끝에 A씨에게 견책 징계 처분을 내렸다. 견책은 특별한 불이익 없이 주의를 주는 것으로 이에 대해 A씨 측은 조심스럽게 이야기했을 뿐이다. 정당한 업무상 행위였다. 36년 이상 성실히 근무했다며 징계는 부당하다고 했지만 법원은 비위 행위가 모두 인정되고 징계 수위도 과하지 않다고 판단했다. 재판부는 A씨의 행위는 직장 내 괴롭힘에 해당한다고 판단했다. 또 다수의 직원이 장기간에 걸쳐 적지 않은 정신적 고통을 겪었을 것으로 보인다며 견책은 A씨의 행위에 비해 가벼운 측면도 있어 보인다고 지적했다.
All right, now this is also some disturbing news as well. Let's take a look in English. So one guy who worked as the head of an overseas office of a public company led a team of 6 Korean employees and 5 local employees. And the trial confirmed 11 cases of misconduct committed by him. So one prominent misconduct was calling the local driver lazy bones instead of his name, verbally abusive to other local employees, using derogatory language, saying they smell, they don't shower, they're stupid, they're lazy, and other racist comments on a daily basis. He also would give unfair instructions as to what to do for work. Would say that one person would need to install mosquito nets at his house. Other interns weren't allowed to get vaccines in Korea, saying we don't need these useless interns. In addition, he discriminated against other local employees by preventing them from using coffee capsules and snacks, enforced unpaid additional work for an hour every day, and even when a pregnant employee requested self-quarantine due to some concerns about COVID-19, he unreasonably obstructed. So, in response to this case, this guy said it's not fair. But the court did not accept his arguments, and he argued that he spoke cautiously. It was a legitimate business action, and he had faithfully worked there for more than 36 years. However, the court recognized all the misconduct and determined that the disciplinary action he would receive is not excessive. What do you do with a guy like this?
I really don't understand this case because, I mean, even before the workplace harassment article came into the Labor Standards Act, I mean, this article came into force in 2019.
Okay.
So it's a pretty recent one. Mm-hmm. But even before that, this case could be considered violation of the Labor Standards Act because, like, this guy ordered the junior employee to work without pay the overtime. This is violation of the law.
Right.
And then, like, you're making them record the conversations between, like, the local
Clients.
Employees.
Yes.
And this is violation of the law too. So I don't understand why this guy said, like, the 견책 is unfair because 견책 is, like, the lowest disciplinary action you can get.
Is it?
So usually in Korean companies, they have like 4 types of reprimand or the disciplinary action.
Okay.
The most mild one is the 견책 reprimand.
I see.
It's just like warning, giving a warning to not to do this like any time again. And then the higher level, upper than that, is the 감봉, like a reduction in pay. This one is like obviously it's a demerit or the disadvantage.
Sure.
And then the next one is 정직, which is suspension. It's if you get like suspension for 3 months, it's no pay for 3 months, and then this one keeps in your HR record. And then if you want to get promotion, then this one is really critical. And then the last thing is the obviously dismissal.
그러네요. 굉장히 약한 편인데.
This is really,
really
weak.
But like understandable. Like, you know, it seems that like kind of very appropriate. I would say he could, you know, he would deserve a little bit more.
Right. So if I got this case as my like advisory question or query, I would advise the company to put this guy in like a reduction in pay.
Sure. Or even just suspension. I mean,
suspension, I don't know. You have to, because you have to compare with like other case law.
That's true. Yeah. No, I'm too strict. Normal people's reaction would be like, he deserves to lose his job.
I mean, that's the concern for the employers because the one principle of the court is that you have to be fair when you're giving the disciplinary action to the employees. So when an employee gets a disciplinary action, then the court compares that with any like history of the disciplinary action the company got to put to employees. And then the problem is that in case of 성희롱, like sexual harassment, the level of sexual harassment or the people's like understanding of the sexual harassment has changed widely over the years. So like back in like 1990s or like early 2000, people like didn't really think of this like as serious as now. But then now like people really get it seriously. But then when some employee gets punished with the sexual harassment, then it will like claim to the court that like back in the history, like in 10 years ago, it wasn't this serious disciplinary action. So that's like the dilemma the employers has. Yeah,
I guess that is true. I mean, I think harassment, abusive language and that kind of stuff was far more apparent and ongoing back in the days. Yeah. But now I guess people understand that it's not only not nice, but it's not right.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It is wrong.
Right. So let's take a look at this never-ending cycle of harassment. It seems like that it's an ongoing thing. It's called 갑질 in Korean, 그렇죠? 직장 내 괴롭힘이란 게 법으로 정의되는지 like, is there like a law that sets exactly what harassment at work is? Because it could, I mean, as you say, fair, or, you know, how people would define certain things is very subjective.
Right. It's subjective. So you have to be really strict with the interpretation of the law or the article. In legal terminology, it is called workplace harassment or 직장 내 괴롭힘.
Okay.
And then it's in the Labor Standards Act. And then, like I said, it was introduced in 2019, so it's a really recent one. So we are building the case laws to interpret this law. And then it means physical or mental suffering to other employees or deteriorating the work environment beyond the appropriate scope of work by taking advantage of superiority in rank, relationship, etc. in the workplace.
So in this case, he was obviously, I guess, working in a harassing environment, or he was creating a harassing environment.
I mean, it belongs to like any definition of this article because it was giving like a mental suffering, and then it is indeed deteriorating the work environment, and then it was obviously beyond the appropriate scope of work. Because like you don't really need to get the violent words from those from the higher up employee, and then he was using his rank or his position as a superior employee.
So I mean that's what we call 갑질, right?
In 갑질 in like your everyday language, but then in the law you say like 직장 내 괴롭힘.
Okay, so 갑질 is 직장 내 괴롭힘?
Well,
can we just say it freely now?
Yeah.
갑질, 직장에 괴롭힘.
If you do 갑질 in your work environment, then it could be 직장 내 괴롭힘.
Yeah, I mean, how would you judge it, right? Again, it's the question of 어떻게 판단하는 그런 기준이 있는지 궁금한데요. 이게 좀 명확하게 있으면 좋을 텐데, it's obviously easier said than done.
Right.
But how is there an easier way to understand?
Well, there are like three parts of it, three components of it. So first, you have to use your superiority in terms of like a position or the relationship. You have to be in the superior position, and then you have to use it. And then next component is that you have the action has to be over the appropriate scope of work. So if like some junior employee complains that this is workplace harassment, but then it could be okay, it could be not considered workplace harassment if like the company really needed the work. So you have to finish this by like tonight, and then you have to finish that, and then you order that to your junior employee, and then he complains that this is a workplace harassment. That's not going to work. Right.
So if it's unnecessary,
it needs to be unnecessary.
Right. Whether it's a request
or
to
it needs
longer.
to be. It could be like a necessary, but it could be like too much.
Okay.
Even if it's necessary.
Right.
Then it could be excessive. And then the last thing is that you need to give like any physical or mental suffering, or it has to like deteriorate the working environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I feel like Korea was built on 갑질 as well, just because even in our work culture, there's a I guess the language cultures is a hierarchy.
Yeah, hierarchy. Koreans are really used to those hierarchies, especially. And then if you're a guy, then you need to serve in the military for 2 years.
Sure.
Everyone needs to.
Right.
So you're really used to those kind of hierarchies. So it's really hard to like react those like wrongful harassment by your superior.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the Korean law adopted this kind of article. And then it's really interesting that Japan has the same article too. They call it 파워하라. So it's like a power harassment. So it means the same thing, like 갑질 in workplace.
I mean,
so,
what could you define superiority in relationships?
So superiority means a relationship where it's difficult for victim to resist. So even if the person is not a direct supervisor, there could be a superiority in terms of like position or age in Korean culture, and then seniority at company. So if you have been like staying in the company longer, then you might be considered to have like more superiority.
Sure.
And then in sex, if you're like a man, especially if you're like old man, then you're considered to have a superiority. And then also Status of employment. This is a matter of like a 정규직 or 비정규직. So
yeah.
if you're like a 계약직, it's a really real culture. So in Korea, if you're a 계약직, somehow you're considered as like some kind of inferior type of work.
Right, because you're just there as from contract to contract.
Right. And then also you have to like get approved or be reviewed by the 정규직 guys to extend your contract.
I see.
That's where the problem comes.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it could even be like superior in terms of number of people, right? So any time where you feel kind of threatened, like you're not able to say what you want to say.
Right. That shows that's the very reason why you're in an inferior position. So in a recent case, a number of junior employees, so 후배s, they spread like bad rumors about their supervisor, and then they were kind of 따돌려ing her, and then it was
Bullying.
also recognized as workplace harassment because they were using numbers,
Right.
and then they were considered to be in a superior position
Sure.
against their supervisor.
So even if you compare the supervisor to the junior employee, it's still by mass that she
it could
is
be
the
considered.
minority.
It could be, but this is not a usual case. Usually, it's the supervisors or the
Right.
senior employees who do those like captures and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, also like the language that you use is also very important, like 욕설이나, swearing, insulting, even physical harassment being obvious that it's a no-go. But even if it still isn't, can it still be harassment? It's like 어떤 거는 굉장히 it's like 애매하잖아요.
Yeah, it could be really subtle.
Yeah.
It could be
Like
subtle.
그냥 눈빛.
눈빛.
나만 알아. Nobody knows, but 나만 알아.
눈빛 is especially it's more subtle
It's so
than
hard.
anything. So 눈빛, I don't think by 눈빛 you can like sue someone for workplace
Or like
harassment.
tone, 말투.
Yeah, tone, maybe tone, or like using. In many cases, it's a matter of like a use of vocabulary in certain contexts. So if you use like this kind of words in like in everyday life, it wouldn't matter. But if you use this in certain contexts, then it could be problematic.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, we all have that one person, whether it's at work or school or any, personal circle. 그냥 말투가,
그런 사람들 있죠.
Yeah.
기분 나쁘게.
기분 나쁘게 말하는 분들도 계셔요.
기분 나쁘게.
And so, like, whether they know it or not, I mean, if you're working with that type of person and you always feel like they're, judgmental or condescending,
Right,
they don't
condescending.
always looking down on you.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be hard to make a case for that. It's hard to work with them too.
Right. So, like, not every 기분 나쁜 attitude is considered workplace harassment, but you can think about it.
Yeah.
You can like consult with someone else to
yeah.
see whether it's problematic or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like spreading rumors as well. I mean, it's like bullying, right?
Like spreading rumors, especially about your like a private life.
Yeah.
If you like someone has divorced or someone has like a.
I have a question. What if it was all done during a 회식? You know what I mean? Like all of this like gossiping and spreading rumors. It wasn't at the workplace itself, but it was like at a 회식. But obviously it continues on,
Yeah, I mean, there's a famous line in Korean 직장 where 회식은 일의 연장이다.
맞아요.
So company dinner is extension of work.
Yeah.
So usually, I mean, it's the same thing for. Do you know what 산재 is?
No,
산업재해?
what is that? 산업재해.
So it's like occupational injury.
Okay.
So like if you get hurt by when you're while you're doing your work at your job, then you could be protected by the law that there's a occupational insurance.
Okay.
So you could be insurance by law when you get hurt or get injured while you're doing work. And then in many cases, it happens where the company dinner. You go to company dinner, and then you get injured. It could be also protected by the law.
Oh,
because
it can be.
It's
a 연장.
Yeah, it's 연장. It's extension of work.
So it's recognized by law that it's an extension of
But
work.
it needs to be a dinner like controlled by the company.
Okay.
So you have to have like some sort of like supervisor.
Sure.
And then he like paid for the dinner.
Right.
And then it's considered like a 업무의 연장.
Right.
But then if you had some kind of dinner with your colleagues,
Coworkers,
like on your own, then it's not considered as an
different
extension
story.
of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to ask these questions because I feel like we all go through something similar. It may not be the exact case, but like even in your personal life, so it may not just be in your occupation and stress like that, but even in apartments, you have a case here where security personnel.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in apartments, it's where you live, but for the apartment managers, it's where they work.
Yeah.
So there's a question whether it should be considered a workplace harassment.
So we're talking about the 경비실 아저씨, right?
경비실 아저씨.
Right, yeah. Recently, there was a number of cases that would just come up talking about abusing these poor guys.
Right. So sometimes some residents at the apartment treat those managers as if they're like servants.
Right.
Or, I don't know, someone has to follow their orders every time.
Sure.
So when there's any trouble, sometimes they curse those managers or even use violence to them. So in one incident, a manager committed suicide because of the harassment by the residents.
Oh no!
But because the residents themselves are not the employees. I mean, in terms of employment relationship, they would be considered more of customers because they're the ones who are getting services.
Right.
So this workplace harassment law did not apply in those cases.
I mean, it's terribly sad. I mean, just the power of people's words, the power that people all have with what you say and how it can really make or break somebody's life.
Right.
In this case, it really did, break his heart enough to end his life.
I mean, those residents could be punished under the criminal law, such as 업무방해죄, interference with business because they were doing their work.
Right.
Or it could be violence if they show some violence to them. But it's not protected under the Labor Standards Act. So there's a movement to revise the law so that those 경비원s could also be protected by the workplace harassment law.
Yeah, well, I mean, work is work. It's hard to find the fine lines, the boundaries between what is appropriate and what it's not. But hopefully we can just be a little bit more empathetic towards the people that we work with because we're all just people trying to make a living.
I mean, if you become more empathetic, you don't really need the law.
That's
if
true.
If we respect each other, well...
Let's get Mark out of business so that we won't need lawyers anymore. Well, in any case, 덕분에 많은 것을 배워봤습니다. Thank you. Once again, 백규현. I want to say 교수님 every time.
I'm not 교수.
You are teaching us a lot, though. But 변호사님 너무 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to see you again soon. We'll leave you guys with our very last song. 마지막 노래 이승열 노래 들려드리겠습니다. Here's Nara. Have a great night and 내일 봬요.